Hello, in this video we are going to discuss about the collections in Rust and also the various types of collections. The Rust standard library includes a very useful data structures and also in those the collections are one of them. Most of the data types represents one specific value, but the collections can contain multiple values. As we have already known that arrays and tuples are stored in stack, whereas collections are stored on heap. Whenever the data which is stored on heap can be able to grow on string while the program runs, and it doesn't need to know the amount of data which can be stored at the compile time itself. Each kind of collections has different capabilities and the costs associated with it. In this Rust collections we are going to talk about vectors, strings and the hash maps. In this video we are going to learn about how to create a vector, update, delete, and with respect to those functionalities, how we are going to create a string, update and creation functionalities, and the same with respect to the hash maps. Before moving on to the collections, let's talk about what is stack and what is heap. Now, what is stack? Stack is represents like last in first out. Here we could see that onto the stack is a data structure which could push the data element onto the top of the stack, which means whatever the data element which last ends will pops out first. So the stack uses push and pop methods. In order to add the data element into the stack, we use the push method, whereas in order to remove the element from the stack, we uses the pop method. This is simple version of what is stack. Let's move on to what is heap. A heap is uses a pointer reference in order to get the values. These heap and stack are the storage memory in which our data resides. Let's look up on how to heap is arranged. And heap is something a data storage in which our data is going to stored on it. Here we could see that Rust and also hello and the vectors in Rust. Rust, hello, those are the strings which are resides on the heap memory. The heap which uses the pointer reference to get the values. Here we could see the rest hello, those are the strings which are resides in the heap memory, and those are pointed with str variable. Like str contains the pointer which is pointing to the memory which on the present on the heap, and whereas vectors in Rust and the hash maps also resides in heap, whereas heap is uses the insert methods in order to add the items onto the heap. Heap help us in maintaining the variable width of amount of space which can be allocated on the memory, which can be used by the program at runtime. Let's talk about how data is pointed in the heap. Here we could see that ptr is pointing to the index and the values which is stored on the heap memory. The ptr contains the pointer which is an address of the memory which is present on the heap. This is how the str value stores the ptr length and capacity, where in order to get the value from the heap we are using the pointer address where it points to the memory on the heap. That's how we could able to get the value which is of Rust string by using the str variable str1. This is how the str1 variable points to the Rust string. Let's compare with what is stack and heap and how the benefits we can get from those using of the different data structures. Let's compare with the parameters with respect to stack and heap. First one is the basic, which is the memory is allocated in a continuous block in stack, whereas the memory which is allocated in a random order. Hence, it is difficult to retrieve the exact value from the heap, as it takes some complex calculations in order to get the value from the heap. Then next comes to the allocation and deallocation. Once the pops has been enabled, it's automatically deallocated from the stack, whereas on the heap, the programmer has to manually trigger the function in order to clean up the memory on the heap. When it comes to speed and the cost, whereas stack is very less, whereas heap is many more, because as it uses more calculation in order to clean up the memory in the heap. Implementation is very easy in stack, where it harder in heap. Access time is faster in stack, well as slower in heap, because heap has to contain all the pointers and where it is that memory has been reside on the heap memory. So it bit slower when compared to the stack retrieval process. The main issue is shortage of memory, whereas in stack and heap uses the memory fragmentation. So a pieces of memory has been allocated with respect to the data on the whatever the code has been containing. The point of reference is very easy in stack, where the element is always on the top, which is going to be removed, where it is in heap it is inadequate, because we need to track the item or the data element which has to be popped out. When it comes to thread safety, the stack provides more thread safety than heap. And coming to the flexibility, the stack has the fixed sizes, hence the arrays, tuples, strings stored on heap, whereas string slice is stored on fixed size. Hence we know those fixed sizes all are on stored on stack memory. And the data type structure, which is a linear when it comes to heap, which is of hierarchical. The size, when it compares to the size, the stack contains less memory when compared to the heap. Let's create collection programs in Rust in Visual Studio Code. In order to create a package in Rust, type cargo new Rust collections -vcs none. This is the command which is used to create a package manager which is with the name Rust collection. Mentioning -vcs none in order not to create any Git repository in our system. This is how Cargo Package Manager creates a Rust collection package. Let's click on enter. We have successfully created binary application using the cargo new. Let's open the folder containing the Rust collection files. Click on open folder and go to desktop, and here we could see the Rust collection folder package. Click on select folder. Now we are in the Rust collection package. Here we could see the Rust collection package contains src folder, in which it contains the main.rs file and cargo.toml file. In this toml file, go to cargo.toml file. Here we could see the package definition, like what is the package contains. Here we could see the name, which is the Rust collection. The name which specifies this collection is the Rust collection name and the version and the edition of it. And here we are also going to add the dependencies if needed. Let's look into the main.rs file. Here the src folder contains the main.rs file. In this folder, the file which contains the main function, which is the executing point of the Rust, and which is also having the println statement. Let's remove the println. Now we are going to create a vec which is having the vector type of I32 equals to. In order to create an empty vector, we need to define new function on the vector. This statement lets you to create a empty vector. Let's now add the values into the vector v dot push. This allows you to add the items into the vector v dot push. We are now having only the homogeneous data. Like as we are having the same data type, we need to push the I32 values only. So add 65 colon. This vector is a generic type. We have the rest generic types. This vector is created using the generic types. Hence, it only accepts the I32 data type. Or we can specify any data type inside the arrow brackets so that this vector only holds that data type. Let's save the file and open the terminal and cargo run. Here we could see able to see the two errors which says that cannot borrow as mutable because this vector is not a mutable version of vector. In order to make it as a mutable, we need to make this mute space v in order to make this immutable vector to mutable mute. Let's save the file and clear the console. Cargo run. We could see our program is successfully able to compile and run. Now we are going to print the elements of the vector. Print macro. This is format specifier -v. Let's save the file. Here I am going to produce few errors so that you could able to better understanding how to use the vectors in very good manner. Let's cargo run. We could see this error. It is saying that it cannot be formatted with the default formatter. Like here, this is our default formatter. With using this normal placeholders, the print statement couldn't able to print the vector, which is of a like the formatting. We need an extra options. So as the compiler Rust compiler provides more details of it in the compiling itself. So we could use those things here. We can use colon question mark or colon hash question mark in order to print the vectors or special format types. Let's add colon question mark. Let's save the file, clear the console and cargo run. Now we could see this format style, like it is going to add the square brackets and inside it we are having 34 and 65 values. We have successfully created vector using the vector new function method and which is of one single type of I32 and also we have added the push after the vector and we have successfully printed the values. Here this is the print line statement and here this is the output of that print line. Let's create the vector using another macro which is another type using the vec macro. Vec macro is provided by the Rust in order to define or create an vector easily. Here we have added few things and let's remove those things, save it and clear the console. Let's inspect the code. Here we are going to create a vector using the vec macro. This is how we can define or create an values at the declaration itself. This v contains 12 and 34 and this is the print statement of that vector. Let's run the cargo. We could able to see the values of it. Now let's see what happens if we going to add the values into the vector. Let's paste it and we are getting some errors. Let's run the file and let's see what are those errors. The same as we previously defined like mute in order to add the push. Here also we need to add mute keyword so that it is useless without using the mute keyword on the vector data type. So here we have added the mute keyword and clear and run the file. Now we could see the statements. Like this is the output of the value of the vector, and this is the print statement of it, and we have successfully added the two items which are 34 and 65, which are going to add at the last of 34, which is indexing from 2 to 3, 0, 1, 2 and 3. These are the values which have been appended to the vector. The vector only accepts a single data type value. What happens if we add a different data type which is going to store 5 point, let's add 5.6 to it. Let's save the file. Here we could see that error, the mismatched type expected the 32 data type, but we are pushing the value of 345.6, which is a float value. Hence this vector is not going to produce an or run the program. Instead it panic and throws the error. Here we could see the error expected the 32 size, but we have provided the floating point which is 345.6. We have seen how to add the value. Let's see how to pop up the value or remove the value from the vector. v.popup method is used to remove the last item from the vector. Let's change the values, and we have added and pop-up line. Copy. We have now popped up the value, and we are going to print the statement in the vector. Let's see what are the values which would reside in the vector. Here these are the two values which are stored here. This is the first statement, and this is the first statement of it. And after the pop-up we are going to print the vector. Here we could able to see that one item has been removed, which is the last item has been removed from the vector. Remove the value from the pop method. Let's look on how to retrieve or get the items from the vector. In order to, we could able to call using the indexing one. Let's remove ampersand 1 ampersand 2. Ampersand is used as a reference pointing to the vector. Here I am passing value 1 and 2. Let's save the file. Here we are using the ampersand. We are able to call the vector of which is of indexing 1. So let's go run. We could see 34 and 56 value, which is of indexing 1 and indexing 2 of it. If we going to print the indexing which is out of scope, the compiler will get panic and its results into given error. Here we could see the index out of bound, which is a statement. This statement provided by the compiler at the runtime. The length is 3, but the index is 7. It says that we are indexing the 7 in order to retrieve the 7th value, but the length of the vector is only 3. In order to remove this ambiguity or having a good and cleaner code, the Rust provides one more method on the vector, which is .get method. It accepts or it takes an input and index number which is of 3. Let's print these lines so that we will get to know. Let's cargo run. If we run this file, we could see the three statements from it. The first statement provides gives the value which is of indexing at 1, which is 34th value, and the getting of value 2, which gives the sum of 56. The get method is an which returns an option enum which contains the sum and none. Sum or either it throws an none. So if the value is present, it gives an sum function with the value in it. If it is neither the value is present, it throws an none statement on it. None represents it's an event like error handling thing, so that the compiler won't get panic and it results into the none only. So it's a good way to handle the out of bound index thing. Let's see how we can iterate over the vector in order to get the values from the vector. Here this is the for in loop, like it's iterate over on each item by having the vector reference, and it is going to print the each element or each item in it. Let's run cargo run. We could see 12, 34, 56, which is are the values of the present in vector. Let's see how we can handle the option enum which is returned by the get method. In order to extract the values from the option enum, we are going to use the match control flow and v dot get of 1. This is how we could able to call the match on the get enum option method, which returns an option method. So here it gives either sum of value which can be pointed to print ln statement having the placeholder of value. So we are going to define for the none to none. If it is none, we are showcasing the value is none, value not present in index. This is how we could able to extract the values from the option enum. Let's run the file. We could see the first statement of the line, which is get method. Using the get method, we extracted the sum of 56 in the second statement, which extracts the value from the 34, which is at the index 1. Let's see if the value is out of bound. Here let's paste one more thing, which is indexing at 7. Let's save the file or go run. Here the statement in the terminal shows 3 values. Let's inspect one by one. The first statement showcasing the sum which is of the statement in the fourth line, and the value of the 12 which is retrieved from the index 0 using the get method, which is here from the println, or and the value not present in index, which is printed using the statement which with the get methods throws the none thing. So in order to, if it is none is catched, then we are going to print this statement. So value not present in index has been showcased. This is how we could able to handle the get method of the vector using the match control flow in order to retrieve those elements. As we have seen, the vector only takes the singular data type, like only one data type has to be passed. If you want to pass or test any multiple data types, or we can go for creating a data type with the enum keyword. Hence that could be sufficiently handling the different data types input. Here we declared in spreadsheet cell, which is the data type which we have created using the enum keyword. This data type contains spreadsheet cell data, which is a type, contains int, float, text, and the boolean, which contains or accepts these different data types. Next, we have created a vector macro. Using the vector macro, we are pushing the values into it, which is of now it is only having the spreadsheet type. Hence, we have successfully able to create an multiple data type structure. So now this vector we can able to prove whether it is an integer, float, text, or boolean. This is how we could able to add the different type of values using the by creating a custom type using the enum keyword. Hence we have created a row, a cell which might contains the float or int or text. In order to check whether the first item has been float or int, we could able to create a match statement to it, and we can able to retrieve the things whether the cell contains text or float, either int. As we have previously seen how we can use the match in order to get the items from the option. The same way we could also handle the enum type. So we have been pointing to the first row, first item in an vector. So the first item could be the int. Let's see whether it prints the integer with the value of 3 or not. Here the spreadsheet, if it matches the spreadsheet cell of the int statement, we are going to get that value and we are going to print that value in our print statement. Let's clear on cargo run. Here now we could able to see the integer which is saying that integer with the having the value 3. So we could successfully able to add using the enum data type and enum type, and also we can retrieve the value whether it is an what data type it has been folded. Let's add 3 to it and save and run cargo. Now we could see I am either of the type above. The indexing 0, 1, 2, 3. As we don't specify the boolean type match, so it throws an the default behavior if none of its matches. Hence we have been seen this I am either above type has been the statement which has been printed with the default thing. Hope you have understood how to create a vector, add, push and delete, and if we want to add a multiple type data types, we could also able to use the enum type in order to create a custom data type, and we can use the match control flow in order to retrieve the elements from it. Let's talk about another collection which is of type strings. Rustaceans get stuck on strings from a combination of three reasons. Like they didn't know what are the possible errors which are coming out on while programming on the strings, and also it is very complicated data structure while trying to modify or working on those strings. And also the one more thing is UTF-8, as every collection has create, updating and reading. Here in these strings also we are going to learn those functionalities. Rust has only one type of in the core language, which is the string slice, which is str, and we usually borrowed form is ampersand str. In Rust, while referring to the strings, we usually mean either it is a string or string slice. Not only those types, we do have included many other string types which are OS, string, C, str. These are also strings which can provide even more options for storing string data. Let's talk about UTF-8. UTF-8 is the universal coded character set. UTF is the variable with character encoding. It is used for electronic communication, and also it is used for various type of documents. Most of most of them are docs, notepad. The UTF is standardized encoding character set which can be used most of the documents encryption. Encoding UTF-8 is capable of encoding all nearly more than 1 million valid characters, including like it encodes using 1241 byte Unicode. As we have seen, UTF-8 is dominant encoding for all the World Wide Web, which is counting 98% of all web pages. Let's see how the UTF characters has been implemented or how it has been structured. Here we could see the dollar symbol, which is of unique code of 84, the binary code points, and the binary UTF-8. These are the representation in a different format of 8 bits, and we do have hexadecimal UTF-8 and also decimal UTF-8 representation. These are the few representations in order to know like how the four bytes, which is each byte consists of 8 bit, has been made in order to represent that character. Let's talk about strings. A string is made up of three components in Rust, which is pointer to some bytes on the memory, and also it has length, and it also has capacity. Here the pointer address gives the storage where the data has been resided in the memory, and the length is the number of bytes currently stored in the buffer, whereas capacity is the size of the buffer in bytes. Each byte equals to 8 bit. The pointer points to the internal buffer string, which or where the memory has been captured the data in it. Here we could able to know that the length and capacity, where capacity is always greater than the length. As we know that strings are stored in heap, the length of the string represents what is the exact length, and where the capacity is the buffer, which means the extra space which has been added or given to the string in order to accumulate for the future use. Let's create the strings program in Rust. Let's create a package for the Rust string, Rust new string, which could create a new package vcs none. Click on enter. It is going to create one binary application with name Rust string package. Let's go to the folder and click on desktop and click on Rust string. Select the Rust string folder and click on select. Now we are able to see the two files. One is src folder and cargo.toml file. Open the main.rs file. Let's remove the code. Let's create a string with the name yes equals to string colon new. This could create an empty string with capacity of string capacity with 0. Let's print the s value, which is string. On the console we could see that it doesn't contain any value, which is empty. Let's print the length of it, then cargo run. We are able to get the value, which is the length of the string yes is 0. The another way of declaring a string is a string literal. We can directly pass in with it in the double quote. We can pass rest. So this could be represented as a string slice, which is ampersand str. This is a string literal. Let's save the file and run. We could see here the length of the string s is 4, as it has 4 characters in it. This is how we could able to print the string literal. In order to change it to string data type, let's add str equals to s dot. We need to make it as a toString. So this function converts our string literal to string type. Then save the file and run. Here we could see the value, which is 4, and we are currently printing the str, which is of string type, not a string literal. This is the way we can able to convert our string slice or string literal to the string type. Previously we created an empty string. We could also create a string using the string using the function from. So this could create an initial string with name rust. So this is the type of string, and we are just going to pass, and we have printed s. Here we, we call the string literal, and if we have been passing to the form function where it converts our string literal to the string type, and the result is allocated on the heap. If it is a string literal, it is allocated on the stack, whereas it is in the string type, it is allocated on the heap memory. Let's run our program. This has been successfully compiled, and we could able to see the value of 4. There are two methods which are going to add our data, add our string or data to the string type. Here push, which takes the single character and which appends it to the end of the string. So this is how we could able to pass, and this has been allocated. In order to append or update our string, we need to make it as a mute. Unless it is immutable, hence it is not going to append the character to the rest. So let's save and run the file. Here this is the length which is going to see, and let's print the character of it. Here now we could see that rust L has been added and appended by using the push method. In order to push the string, we have one more function which is called push underscore str, which accepts the string. So we could add space. We need to make it in a double quote. Save the file and cargo run. Here we could see our rust lang has been printed in our console. Here we have used the push str method, push str method, in order to push our string value. If we want to push a single character, we can use push function. Here is the another way which we can add a new string into the by concatenating the previous strings. Here I have taken which is s, which is made from the string type using the from method, which is rust, and I am going to append it to lang, which is a string literal. Using the format macro, we can able to get the string format and append it to the value, and we can able to print that value that is an string type. Here this is another way of appending using the concatenate symbol, like which is the concatenation. Here is the plus symbol which can be used to perform operation in order to append these two, which is s1 and s2. s1 will be lost his memory, and which is borrowed to, and which is string has been borrowed from the s1. Hence the ownership has been passed from s1 to str, and the s2 has been appended to the s1, and thus the str gets the value rust line. Let's run the program. Here we could see our output value, which is of rust line. If you try to print s1 and s2, let's print s2 before s1. Let's save the file and run it. Here we are getting the value which is of s1 has been moved from its memory, which is it has been dropped from s1, and the ownership has been taken by the str. Here we could see the term like move occurs because move correctly we can copy the trait, we can use copy of trait. That is an we will concept that concept will comes under ownerships. We'll talk it about on this later. For now, let's remove the str and let's see whether our code will be completely working or not. Here we could able to see the one more, which is one is string and another one is language, which is the s2. Hence we could know that st is still having its ownership, whereas s1 lost it to str. In rest, we are not able to print the character of the string by using the index. If we try to run our program, we could expect panic from the cargo compiler. Here we could see that string cannot be indexed by the integer. Hence, the string which is stored in an UTF-8 encoding structure, which doesn't allows like the implementation wise, which we could not able to get the value by using the indexing. In order to get the value of the first one, we could call chars dot nth element, which is of 1. This is the function which is provided by rest in order to get the first character from the string. Here we could see that chars method dot nth will provide an option enum. Here we could see the sum of or none. In order to print the sum or none, which is of having the option 1, we could pass colon question mark. By using the match control flow, we could able to get the value of the char. From using the match control flow, we can target to the println of sum, which can print the value of the first character, or it can print if the nth element is not found, then it could print the no character at this index. Let's run the file. Here we could expect view from the match control flow. If we pass 9th index, let's run the program. Now we could see no character at this index has been found on the terminal. This is how we could able to extract in a non-panic way, which is we couldn't able to directly access using the indexing number by appending with the s1 in square brackets. We use s1 chars dot nth index in order to retrieve the characters from the string. Now we will look into the various functions of the string data type. Here in the first, we have declared a string slice with the string value of hello and stored in s. Now we are going to convert that string slice into the string format by using the from function here, which converts our string slice into string type, and the result has been allocated onto the heap. Thus we are storing our string slice onto the heap, as we have already described, and that the every string has a pointer and also it represented in a 4 byte, right, and also it has a length and capacity. We have declared a function in which it is able to get the pointer value or the memory address on which the heap has been there, on which the heap has been stored, and also it retrieves the number of bytes the hello keyword has been used, and also it is going to give the length of the s1, which is the string, and the capacity. The capacity is the buffer value that is always stored on the heap. Let's run our file. Now we could able to see the values in it. Here this is the memory address on the heap of which the string value is there, which is hello, and the hello has been represented in this manner of Each character has an UTF-8 Unicode, which is a decimal UTF-8. This is the vector in which this vector has each item represents each element. H represents 104, E represents 101, and so on. And the length of the hello, which is the string length, which is 5, and the capacity is equals to 5. So always the length would be equals to capacity. The capacity would be the equals to length or greater than length. It never be the below the length. Now we are going to use the manual drop method, which is having this memory is used in order to get the pointer address which is stored on the heap. It prevents automatically dropping of the string data. This is the way we can able to call our string in order to get the pointer address. We need to declare use standard memory package, and we can call the s1 with as mute ptr, which converts which converts the. Let's clear the console and run it. Here we could see both the ptr and the point ptr both are same. Now we will look into how the bytes of vector is going to transform into this string. Here we have taken a vector which is of 104, 101, 108 and 108 and 1112. This represents the hello keyword. Usually we have added one byte at the last, which is representing the p. Let's see how we are going to display this vector as a string. And also we have an Unicode keyword of it. How to get the Unicode keyword of the emoji. Here we have pasted one of the emoji and into this str. Now we are going to extract how many bytes it is going to occupy. Later on we are going to have the number of bytes as a vector, and we are going to print the emoji. Let's run the program. Here we could able to see as one byte has been added, this p has been appeared in the last letter. As we have been added 112, then it is moving to after o it is p. We have able to get the emoji as a byte structure. This is the representation as a vector of bytes, and we are going to use the vector byte and representing the emoji symbol. This is the respective code which has been used to get the emoji from the UTF-8. In order to do this, we use the function which is from UTF-8, which is of the string data type. And we are going to unwrap, then we are going to get the string of the emoji. Let's discuss about hash maps. This is the one of the collection in Rust. The type of hash map stores a mapping of keys of type K and values of type V. It does this via the hashing function, which determines how to place these keys and values into memory. The memory on which the hash map has been stored is heap. Many programming languages support this kind of data structure. We usually call it as hash map dictionary. It is a pair of key value pair. Hash values are useful when you want to look up a data not by using the index. You can use with the vectors or the keys in hash map. For example, if you want to keep track of team score, you can make a key as a team's name and the values as the team score, so that on calling of the team name in the hash map we could able to get the value of the particular team. Let's see how we can achieve the hash map in Rust program. Here this is the module import or the package import. We are importing the collections which is having the hash map. Once importing the hash map, we can declare an variable and we can call new method which is present in the hash map collection or hash map package. The new method creates an empty hash map. without any key and values. In order to insert the keys and values inside the hash map, we need the insert method like this, and we have to call the key and value. This is the keys all has to be an similar data type, where the values also has to be an similar data type. In order to print the hash map, we are going to use the specify mode placeholder with the specific display like colon question mark. This could display the key value pair structure, and let's see how we can add the insert. If the key is present, we can use the OR insert in order to discard the entry, or if you want to insert the entry if the key is not present. It is achieved using the OR insert method on calling of the entry with the key value. Hope you have understood this functionality. Let's run cargo. Once we run our program, we could able to see the value which is 1, which is the key and value, and this is also key and value. And this is the second row which contains the second 4.0, third 130 and first 5.9. We could see that the order is not maintained as expected. We have first inserted the first and second and third, but we are getting the second. Hence, this is based upon the hash mapping, and it uses the hash keys in order to track of the order. Hence, we could able to get the value based upon the keys. We don't need to bother about the indexing of it. We have declared if the second is not there, we could able to insert the 100 value, but we already have. Hence, this line number 14 is not going to execute because as the second key is already present. Let's create one more hash map. We will insert the tuple in the form of array. It is a list of tuples in an array. We are using the from function in order to add the key value pairs in form of tuple. Here we could see the Mercury and with the value, and the strings are of keys which is of same type. All are strings only, and the zeros all are 0.4, all are same as float. We are using the for loop in order to iterate on the hash map. For this, we need to use the iter method, which could gives the tuple values as a keys and values. Here on iteration, we are getting the key and value. We are going to print that in the line, which is print line statement, which specifying in the specific folder or placeholder we are placing the key and value. Hence we could expect the value which is of hash map key and value pair. Let's run our program. Here in this scenario we could able to see the value of Mercury is 0.4, Mercury is 0.7. This is the structure which has been printed using the print line. This is the statement on iterating over the values, which are a list of tuples which is created using the from function of the hash map. This is how we could able to iterate, and there are many other functions which we can able to use it as a tool. Like we could able to get the hash map pointer reference, as the hash maps are all are stored in the heap memory itself, and also we could get the capacity of it like dot capacity. Here we could now print the capacity of hash map. There are many functions which are provided in the rest document for the hash map. We can go through this and we could able to get the value, as we are having the 7 of the capacity, and we are only having the 4 elements in the hash map. Let's print what is the length of it. Length of hash map, length. Now clear and run the program. Now we could see the length of hash key or hash map is 4, whereas capacity of the hash map is 7. Whenever the capacity is equals to the length, it could not relocate its memory on the heap. If it exceeds the capacity of the hash map, then it is going to relocate to the another address. Until then, the hash map uses the same memory address in order to store the new entries on it. Hope you have understood how the hash map works, and we can use with capacity reserve. Those functions can withhold what is the capacity. We can initiate the capacity of the hash map also. Please go to the descriptions of the links in order to get more details on the collections. So far we have learnt collection, which is maps, hash map, vectors and strings. Hope you have a great learning.